All right, viewers. Once again, Andre Wade has come to enlighten some of the brothers and even some of the sisters of what take place in Texas prison. Being that this is my second video, I might be a little bit more comfortable in some of the things I say because I don't want to just reflect on the past of Dre Dawg and some of the things that Dre Dawg did, but what's taking place right now today in Texas prison. When I first went to prison, which was in 1990, of the 45, I was sent to East Ham. Now East Ham was one of the most dangerous prisons of their time in those days. And we go through a process called diagnostics. And when you go to diagnostics, you stay there for maybe a month, and then they transfer you to the Goree unit, which used to be a female unit, which was at one time the only female unit in the state of Texas. Now when you look up, you have so many women prisons here in Texas. That's just to show you how Texas prison don't care who they send in prison. They'll send your daddy, your grandmama, your grandfather, and if the grandbaby turns 17, they'll send that baby to prison. We're talking about Texas prisons, the Texas system, to where they only want to satisfy themselves and not caring about anybody else. But I was sent to East Ham, and I was like, y'all sending me to East Ham? Man, they killing over there. I had an uncle that did 11 years on East Ham, and he had gotten out in 1990, and his nephew went to East Ham in 1990. Another Wade who did 10 years on East Ham. Now, when I first went into the facility, like I say, it was a dangerous place. When you came in, you can just smell fear, you can smell death, and you can smell anything that was taking place that wasn't wrong. You just knew that this place was a place wasn't for no man. Because like I expressed, it was a dangerous place. It was a place where you was going to either be strong or you was going to be weak. And that's from black, white, Mexican, Chinese, or whoever was in there. Because those days was the days where you had to prove that you was a man and that you would stand up for your dignity, for yourself. Wasn't no games. You had the Mandingos and you had the Mexican Mafia. You didn't have all these Crips and Bloods and all that. And the concept was if you got into a fight and you got knocked down, you had to fight to get up. Wasn't no hold up, let him up. You had to fight to get up. You had to fight in order to not to get raped. And you think about prison. It was a hard place. So I fought at the times it was time for me to fight, which wasn't a lot. Because sometimes when you're in prison, people size you up, the convicts. They size you up, and if they see where it's going to kind of be a problem, they're not going to mess with you. But if you're a fight, and they know you're a fight, then they're not going to mess with you anyway. But we learn to live by the rules of prison. Whatever was going on in that prison in 1990, I had to adapt to. It's like adapting to a place out here in this freedom. To where if you go into a neighborhood or move into a neighborhood, it was a way you had to conduct yourself. Well, it was the same way when you went to prison. You had to adapt. You had to adapt to the ways. You just couldn't come in there among 2,000 inmates and try to talk about what you're gonna do. But you can say that to yourself of what you're gonna do. You can make your mind up to what you're gonna do. But I'm here to inspire you brothers that ain't never been to prison, that even though the prison is not as dangerous now than it was, but it's more sicker. When you look at the offenders that's coming in, some of them come in looking all whole lot, and don't you know they leave looking the same way they came? There was a time in prison when you came to prison, you know, it preserved you. So when you got out, you looked good. Well, the characters that's going inside these walls now are indulging in the same things that they indulge with out here, drugs. So when they go in, the system don't even care if you don't have a job. They'll let you lay up. They'll allow you to hurt yourself. But like I said, prison, Texas prison, can do two things for you. And I believe this is for any prison throughout the United States. It can hurt you or it can help you. So we ask ourselves, what do we need to do in order to change? Because you know, when I went in prison, it wasn't a mobile phone. Not one. Wasn't heard of. Why, during those years, technology out here was steady changing. They come up with all these telephones and mobile phones, in fact, or whatever you call these little things. But by doing those years, I was still acting in the fact as if they just had house phones. So I didn't take a lot of computer classes. I didn't take the things that would truly benefit me once I was free towards this technology. But I accomplished a lot of things. I think about the days when you get to prison back then. When you came to prison back then, they placed you in the fields automatically. That was the job they would place everybody because you was young. Because I was 25 when I was given this sentence. I was 49 when I was released. But I think about the hard days. The days where we had to stay physical fit. Not just so much because we had to work, but because it was any day a challenge could come your way. I had two other individuals that I did about 8 years together with. And we stuck together like brothers inside the institution. And to a degree, if you mess with one, you had to mess with all. But through the grace of God, we was covered. And not too many people messed with us in a violent way. So we had an opportunity to share a lot of things together. We was like brothers. And I just think about the life that we lived, how we grew up inside this Texas prison system, and how our mindsets was in them days, and how we entertained the things that wasn't right until we had to wake up and say enough is enough. We got to get out of here. We had to get out of here because, like I said in my first video, the Texas prison system will allow you to hurt yourself. When every day, every year, every month, every week, the Texas prison comes up with something that you can get into that's positive. But we refuse to, once again, try to accept something that's good. We still fall back on self and just want to do what we want to do, not worrying about going home. We think about it, but we still take life chances inside the walls. I think about the younger guys that go to prison. I hear them all the time say, man, I ain't never coming back. They always talking about, I ain't never coming back. How if you know if you ain't coming back if you ain't never got out? Ain't that something? They say, I'm not coming back to prison. Man, I know I ain't coming back to this. I heard that so many times. And if you take a survey of all the prisoners that's been to prison more than once, they would tell you they made that same statement. But I can't say that because when I was given the 45 aggravated years, that was my third time going to prison. which is one of the reasons why I was offered 45 aggravated, because they filed a obituary on me, which they wanted to do what they wanted to do, and it was all up to them, and it had nothing to do with me. A young thug, a young hustler, a young drug user is what I was in the streets. So now I had to fall back on something I didn't have, and that's money. I didn't have those things.